Well, crap, I have 48 minutes left. Better make this count. So, hello everyone, welcome back to another double movie review on the channel. I think the last double movie review I did was, probably my Twisters movie vlog, which technically that was a half double movie review and half movie vlog. I don't know. I'm thinking it was Twisters, unless it was this. I don't know, I have bad memory sometimes, but before I even talk about my thoughts on the old and new of the Crow movies, just wanted to bring up something that I need to bring this back that I've done about 2 years ago. This was a thing I kept doing, but I don't know why I suddenly stopped, and that was the Metro shoutouts. Now, I'm going to try to bring them back on Friday, hopefully. This is something I've been thinking about trying to bring back. Oh my god, I need to bring this back. But here's a quick shoutout for, I cannot remember the username. God dang it, I apologize, but I'm inserting your comment on the video here, which was from my life update that I just finished editing today. That was a pain in the ass, Dad, but yeah, I brought up about what I've been doing, why I've not been making videos, and what videos to be on the lookout for, and just that I need a break from YouTube, you know, because of my mental health. And why can I not take a break right now? Oh, that's because I'm kind of addicted to making YouTube videos, and by that, I mean I just like to make videos of stuff that would be coming out, mainly from movies. Like, say if I take a break right now, I wouldn't be able to cover any videos in September, more specifically for the Transformers 1 movie that's coming out on the 20th of September. And if I were to take a break for 2 months, I wouldn't be able to cover videos for Joker 2 or Venom 3. So just, like, basically, if there's nothing exciting happening in a month or whatever, or a specific month, that's where I'll probably take my chance and like, alright, I shall take my break around this time period. Unless a certain trailer pops up and I have to do a video about it. And what trailer could it be? Oh, could be Marvel, could be DC, could be anything. But yeah, I just figured I'd let y'all know that I'm gonna bring back the Metro shoutouts, and yeah, here's a shout out for today. Appreciate you watching my life update video, and now let's get on with the double review for The Crow. And I'm gonna try to make this quick, hopefully, because right now I had finished writing my review for both films on Letterboxd. Since technically Letterboxd is my notes, I'm gonna try to read my thoughts from there. But also because I got storage issues. 48 minutes left. I should just delete all my TikTok drafts right now. Just go through all 400 of them and delete them, just so I have enough room to make videos on this damn thing. But to quickly recap on how I even got into this series of The Crow. So a few months ago, there was a trailer that was released. I covered a double trailer reaction for Borderlands and The Crow, and I didn't know jack squat about The Crow. I don't know the mythology with it, and I kind of forgot how I ended up having that on my double trailer reaction. I guess I saw a video from 3C Films and like, oh, this looks interesting. You know what? I'm going to try cover the trailer reaction for this. I probably was going to do a separate video until I decided to turn it into a double trailer reaction last minute when there was a new Borderlands trailer I meant to check out, and I figured, oh, I'm going to do a double Lionsgate movie trailer reaction since both movies are produced by Lionsgate. And having to see the trailer for The Crow, I was hooked in. I mean, like, I didn't know jack but I was hooked in, and I was tempted on wanting to go see that movie dressed up looking like this. Was I able to succeed? No, this is what I dressed up as when I went to go see the movie about 2 days ago on Thursday night. That was the best I could come up with, as I just only had black clothing, so that'll have to do. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to dress up for Beetlejuice. That's unfortunate. Hopefully I'll be able to dress up for Transformers 1. I technically still have my Optimus Prime costume I made back last June, which I'm tempted on making modifications to it, if I can. I don't know. I don't have all my materials with me because they're probably at the storage unit, but I think we're gonna... Wait, I thought we were gonna work on that for this weekend, unless it's tomorrow. I'm gonna have to check up with my mom about that. What I have learned as of recent, apparently this movie has been in production hell for the last decade now. I did not even know that until 3C Films brought this up in this spoiler-free review. There are so many actors that are about to play The Crow, like Jason Momoa, Tom Hiddleston's a good choice, or Bradley Cooper, but also Mark Wahlberg, who... Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I like the actor, but knowing how he acts in this movie, there's no, sorry. I would not be down for that casting. But the only thing I knew about this movie was that apparently this is supposed to be some type of remake of the original 1994 Crow that came out, like, I guess 30 years ago. And there was a lot of hate going into this movie because of how much that movie left an impact, knowing the lead actor Brandon Lee had passed away somehow on set. And this movie was supposed to come out June 7th of 2024, but somewhat got delayed all the way to August. So that was totally random. But yeah, the movie's out, and having to see the movie, I was getting concerned if I would be disappointed with it, knowing that this was not getting great reviews. And having to finally see the movie, I thought about giving it a 7 out of 10, but then I thought about giving it a 7.5 out of 10, because I kind of like this a lot more than Borderlands. But then after scrolling on Twitter, seeing people's different opinions on the movie, I then thought, you know what? This is technically my opinion on this movie, and I overall enjoyed it, so 8 out of 10. That's the best I can give it. And I accidentally stopped recording, but as of right now, my rating for this movie will be set between a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. But 8 out of 10 is the best I can give it. There's no way I can give it higher, because no, it's not one of the best movies out there. I can see why it's slightly bad, but just, it's watchable for me. I guess I just have a thing for bad movies in that they're just, I can tolerate them. They're watchable for me. Except for Alien 3. No, screw that movie. Still though, just, yeah, I overall did enjoy this movie. And like I said earlier, it's not one of the best movies that have been released this year, but again, it's watchable for me, and if anything, it's better than Borderlands, because Borderlands is basically a knockoff version of Guardians of the Galaxy. But I overall enjoyed it for what it was. The only negatives I could think in the back of my mind for this movie is probably the villain, and the other nitpick I have isn't much of a negative. It's a slight nitpick, but my biggest negative will probably have to do with the villain, who I thought was just meh as hell in this movie. I mean, technically there's like a sinister twist to him. He has like some type of supernatural power, which don't consider it a spoiler. It was technically shown in the first trailer, if you haven't noticed. But I kind of wish we got a little more to this dude, but just basically, he was generic. I mean, I don't know much of the word generic or dull, as most folks are calling this movie dull and everything, but just, I guess I found the villain just generic as hell. He just wasn't a fan of the villain. As for the slight nitpick, now, the slight nitpick, I wouldn't consider it as a negative. It's probably just like a little ditty nitpick, and is, we generally start the movie off with Shelly as the main lead, and then once she is killed off, we then switch off to Eric being the main lead, which, don't consider this a spoiler, because, well, I don't even know. It's probably half spoiler, not half the spoiler, but just, Eric doesn't become the Crow till, like, later, or somewhere middle of the movie. Because most of the time, we're kind of developing the relationship on how Eric and Shelly fell in love with each other. That was something the director mentioned on wanting to do for this movie, is that he wanted to further develop their relationship. Is that he wanted to spend more time on how they fell in love with each other. Which is why the movie kind of starts off slow, and we haven't gone into the revenge part on Eric wanting to avenge Shelly because of this terrible thing that had happened to the two of them. But I don't mind it having a slow start, and I kind of didn't mind the romance here. Now, I'm not saying it's the best I've seen, but I didn't mind it. I liked it. I was fine with it taking its time, and then once we finally got to the part where they both are killed off, we then, I guess, we're getting into the good stuff on him finally becoming the Crow, and then going after these people that killed both him and Shelly. But I guess the slight nitpick I have is just that Eric is underdeveloped, because, again, we start off with Shelly as the main lead, and then once she's killed off, we then switch to Eric. And just, yeah, I could see why that's a negative for folks. That will probably be a slight nitpick for me, but I do like some of the cast in here, especially Bill Skarsgård as the Crow. But with that being said, I did overall enjoy this movie. Sure, it's not great, but this is just my personal opinion, and I guess I could just tolerate watching bad movies that are watchable for me, but, I mean, it's kind of stupid of me to give it an 8 out of 10. Like I said, my rating could be between a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, but I did overall enjoy this movie, probably mainly the last few minutes, because once he finally looks all emo looking, we then get on to what I would consider to be the best part of this entire movie, and that was the opera scene, because, oh my god, that was awesome. It was violent, brutal, but gory as hell. and I enjoyed every minute of it. I found it awesome, and just, I did overall like the final battle between him and the generic villain that I was not a fan of. But yeah, overall, I thought I had a good time with this movie. Again, my rating will be between a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, and just, if anything, it's better than Borderlands. That's all I gotta say for this, and I could probably get hate for this, for liking the new one, but let me just say this rather than that. I don't know jack about the Crow mythology. I'm just now getting into it, learning a little bit about it, mainly with how this movie was apparently in production hell for the past decade, and just, yeah, I was gonna watch both movies to, I guess, not only compare, but also to talk about for this video. And technically, I was trying to watch the original before watching the new one, but sadly did not have enough time. So I ended up watching the new one first, and then the original afterwards. And I did watch the original last night, and I was curious to know what was the big deal about this movie, and why it left such an impact, and why it's a cult classic. And having to finally see it last night, holy that was awesome! I want to say I have a lot to say about this movie, but whatever I'm about to say is technically going to have to do with both movies and just my personal opinion on both the Crows, but just overall, I can now understand why, because oh my god, this movie's fantastic! I don't know who this Brandon Lee was, who apparently is the son of Bruce Lee, who I technically know who Bruce Lee is, but I gotta say, I freaking loved him in this movie. He gave such an awesome performance. But before I say anything that would have to do with the 1994 version of the movie, here's something I had noticed while watching it, and that was, the only thing I knew before going in to see the new one was that this is supposed to be a remake of the original. But once I saw the original and having to see both versions, they are both different. And here's why. The 2024 movie isn't a remake of the original. It's a reimagining. Now, technically, it does take elements from the first movie, but overall, it's its own thing. It's entirely separate compared to the original. Now, if you really want to know which one is better, or what I would prefer, or whatever, I'll give it to you and tell you that I may go with the original, because, like, it's just that damn good, surprisingly, but overall, I do like both versions of The Crow. I like the old one for basically why it's good for so many reasons, whatever the reasons are, but I do like the new one for it being its own thing, being totally separate compared to the original, which technically you shouldn't even compare it to the original, because it's not even copying the original, it's its own separate thing. And that's a good thing, that it's not copying the original. It's again, it's its own thing. It's entirely different and not trying to copy the original. It's a reimagining of The Crow and not a remake. Now, I could do a longer video saying which ones I liked from each movie, like, oh, I like this one because it didn't have that, but I also like this because it didn't have that and whatever. Because in this one, we spend a lot more time with the relationship, and here we only have flashbacks. But with the original having flashbacks on how Eric and Shelley were together, it was still enough for me to understand that, yeah, they did love each other. Howdy, future me editing this video that I should have already posted about 2 weeks ago, but couldn't because I've been busy trying to get this place settled, because we should have gotten a couch last week, but apparently they screwed it up and it won't be coming until next week, but that's not the point. I'm just editing this video, like, not gonna lie, this year's been rough for me. These past 3 days have been rough for me, so I haven't had any energy to try to edit videos or anything. For example, I should have already posted my trailer reaction for Arcane Season 2, like, on Thursday, but I just wasn't feeling myself. But the reason I'm even recording this quick little clip in the reviews, because the way I'm doing this and that, like, this is what I wanted to do when I was being like, the original is better than blah, 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 but I did not get the angle right or have it zoomed out. I tried zooming in on both, but having the posters in, it just covered half my face with the movement, so I just tried doing only this for, like, the posters, but just... So in case y'all are confused, just, try to bear with me. I could restart trying to make it look right or whatever, but, just, like, the reason I'm doing that and that, like, going there, not talk about the original, even though I have the poster on this side, and, like, that's, I tried doing it like this, but, yeah. Also, I just need to have this video out to clear out storage, so sorry if y'all are confused, but just try to bear with me on what I'm saying in this double review as I'm explaining what I like from both the old and new one of The Crow. Just, oh god, editing videos is hard. Jeez, just okay. I'm sorry. I just had to record that in case y'all were like getting confused. Like, why is he talking about the original Dead? The posters on this side. I'm just. Oh god, man, 2024. I'm ready for 2025. This year's already been rough for me. But back to the double review that I should have posted about 2 weeks ago. And having to see what happened to them, I felt the emotion of sadness and grief because, like, no, what happened to both Eric and Shelley in the original, of course, that was devastating to watch, but overall, it was terrible that that happened to them, and I felt the emotion, and I sympathized with Eric on him just feeling heartbroken that, like, in the beginning of the movie, it's basically almost Halloween, but both Eric and Shelley were about to get married on Halloween, but they sadly didn't even get married because these goons broke into their house and killed the two of them. Now, I don't want to go full detail because it's a little bit graphic, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But having to see what happened to the two of them, I just felt devastated. Now I would prefer that than how these two were killed off in the new one, which was being suffocated inside a plastic bag. But I did like how we got to see more on their relationship and how they had met and then slowly fell in love with each other in the new one, since we didn't get much of that. It was just only through flashbacks, but in here we spend pretty much like the first half of the movie seeing how they fell in love with each other. But yeah, I sympathize with Eric in this movie, and he was overall such a good lead in this movie. As for negatives, I honestly can't think of any negatives for this movie, because it just was fantastic. Like, damn, I'm surprised that I really enjoyed this movie. And like I said, I may go with this one than the new one, but again, I like both versions for what they are. And I did like some of the cast in this movie, like the cop that's played by a Ghostbuster in this movie. Wink. And this one kid named Sarah that has a connection with both Eric and Shelley, as she did like both of them as loving parents, even though she technically has a mom in this movie who's unfortunately a drug addict. As for the villain, who I thought I recognized the dude, who I then figured out, oh, I know where he's from. He's in Alien Resurrection, which hopefully I get to my Alien review series, because I definitely have some thoughts to talk about for most of those movies, mainly for how I feel on 3 and 4, I guess. I don't know. But no, I gotta say this right at the bat. I like this villain more than the villain from the new one. I thought he was just generic and meh as hell. But for the villain in the original, I thought he was a sick, twisted dude in this movie. And same go for his sister, who, not gonna lie, I would kind of be down bad for. Wait a second. Is that chick actually his sister or something? Because there's one scene where they make out with each other, and I'm like, is he sleeping with his own sister? Okay, back to topic. This is gonna be a little bit weird to say, but while watching the original Crow movie, I was for some reason getting John Wick vibes on certain scenes here and there. Well, I was slightly getting vibes of the first John Wick movie in here, and I could go into further detail on which scene was giving me vibes of John Wick. Technically, The Crow is giving me vibes of John Wick. I mean, they're both separate characters because John Wick, he doesn't have powers, although he's a pretty good assassin. The Crow? No, he was brought back from the dead just so he could put the wrong things right and basically get his revenge for these bad goons that killed both him and Shelley. But I guess the one scene in particular that just reminded me the most was around the last act of the movie, because in John Wick, he was just going after the bad guy's kid because he killed his dog and took his car. And once his revenge was complete, he was just about to go back to his business until the bad guy had to, you know, kill one of his close friends and like, okay, I was gonna let you slide, but now I gotta kill you. That slightly happens in this movie where the Crow gets his revenge by killing all 4 goons that killed him and Shelley. He's about to basically, you know, rest in peace and be reunited with Shelley, but then once his little companion, Sarah, gets kidnapped by the bad guys, like, he then has to go save her and pretty much has to kill him. Like, okay, I was gonna let you slide, but now you're, like, kinda pissing me off a bit, just having to mess with my friend here. But I did like the third act of the movie. Now, I could be back and forth which third act I liked more, whether it be the Opera House or in here. Then again, it honestly doesn't matter because I liked both versions of The Crow. And as for the original, I overall enjoyed it. I could see why it's left such a huge impact, why it's become a cult classic, I can understand why. And with that being said, I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. This movie's fantastic. And with that being said, those are just my thoughts on both the new and the old one. And if you want to know which one I prefer, again, I may go with the original. I'm sorry, I have to. I can't lie, I go with the original. But if I'm really being honest, again, as I've already said this, I liked both versions of The Crow. And you know what? These two are probably going to be the only Crow movies I rewatch, because I refuse to watch those sequels that we got later after the original. So, you could not pay me good money to watch those movies if I wanted to cover a review. So, I'm pretty much going to avoid ever watching those movies for the rest of my life until I die. Unless I am brought back to life by a crow to get my revenge if something really bad was done to me. But with that being said, those are just my thoughts on both the original and what I would prefer to say, the reimagining instead of remake of The Crow. Be sure to let me know what thoughts comes down below on which movie you would prefer. Mostly, I'm probably gonna go with the original, which I can't blame you. I mean, it is that good. But definitely let me know your thoughts on both movies in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next double movie review. Peace out.